Okay, welcome back everyone, and the absolute madman is about to do it. I've been wanting to do this one for a long time, but it's quite an undertaking because, they have such a huge discography. And so instead I skirted around the issue and I made a bunch of other videos about the band, but it's finally going to be Fleetwood Mac ranked. And laying down a few ground rules. I'm not going to do like all the live stuff. I'm gonna do some of the big ones, but there's the live in Boston and the live in Chicago blues stuff, and then there's all the Peter Green live stuff. If I did all the live stuff and all the in concert archival ones, and then you have all the alternate records, which they've done 5 of already, alternate Rumors and alternate Tusk and alternate Mirage, etc. If I did all those, we'd have more of all those archival and live stuff, and then there's the compilations and all that. You'd have more of all that stuff than studio stuff. So I'm doing the studio fair and then the big landmark live ones. So there's 2 big ones that are of course a big part of the band's history. So anyway, let's get right to it because we got a lot of ground to cover. And please know right off the bat, this is just my opinion, right? And also, other than this one, I love all of these. I can listen to all these front to back any day. I love Fleetwood Mac. I am not part of the argument that Peter Green is better than Lindsey Buckingham and Bob Welch is better than Stevie or blah blah blah. I love all these folks that come in and out of this crazy band. So just know that right off the way. It's like, picking your favorite children. You're not supposed to, but we're going to attempt to do that anyway. But yeah, other than this one, I love them all. And this one is just decent, but it never blows my socks off. It's Mr. Wonderful. And it's anything but wonderful. It's decent. It's kind of the band on autopilot after the scorching success in the UK of the debut, which really set the world on fire. And well, not the world, but the UK. They still weren't known in North America. And this is very much like that. There's a few more keyboards on it, on horns. They're kind of trying to put the sound a little forward, but it's not as good. It's not as exciting. The songwriting is not as exciting. And Jeremy Spencer's songs, I hate to say this for any band, I don't even say it for AC/DC, but they all sound alike. And they all have the same chord progression, and his songs really let this thing down. So, yeah, and it also wins for worst cover of, unless you are counting the English Rose, but that's more of an LP compilation than an actual studio effort. 19, and these buggers have never put this out on CD or LP. It's a digital EP that, you could almost not include, and most people wouldn't even notice, and a lot of people don't know it exists. Why don't they put this out on physical media? Number 19, Extended Play. They didn't even give it a cool name that would make anyone want to go get it. And the cover is so lame. It looks like a cover that some up-and-coming band that isn't even on a record label yet would have. But Extended Play, it definitely has its merits. The nice little It Takes Time, it's called, which is a Lindsey song with, it's basically just him and a piano. It's very sparse. That song is really good. It kind of has the same vocal melody as Show You How from Under the Skin in 2006, I believe, which is a solo Lindsey record. It kind of has that, but it's a very nice, tender, introspective song. He kind of does his whisper vocal thing a little bit, but it's still really cool. And also Sad Angel from Extended Play is really nice. A really nice, catchy song. And just great pop rock, it's another Lindsey-led one. Stevie sings backup. The only problem with Extended Play is Without You isn't as good as it could be, considering that song's history. They could have dusted it off and made a classic out of it, and Stevie's voice isn't really as good anymore in the studio. So, yeah, but, it's low, but it's got its merits, and, if they ever put it out on CD or LP, you know, I'm there. I'm gonna buy it for the collection, and I still like it, especially those two songs I named. But the other two, Miss Fantasy and Without You, they're fine. Without You is just produced really, really poorly, but it's a fine enough song. Okay, so next up we got, of course, Fleetwood Mac by Fleetwood Mac, the very first LP, and this shows how much I like this band's discography, as this is ranking so low. This actually has a lot of good ones on it. I just think this era of the group, most of the best songs were on singles, so Need Your Love So Bad, and later Albatross, and then The Green Monalishi, Man of the World, you know, all the best Peter, minus some songs from Then Play On. All the best Peter is on the singles and all that. But this is still, you know, some good blues. None of the songs are very long except for Merry Go Round, but, you know, Jeremy Spencer's songs are a lot stronger on this one than Mr. Wonderful. It doesn't sound like he's trying on that one. And, of course, he wouldn't get any entries on Then Play On or even play on the record. So, and then Kiln House, and then he was gone. But yeah, him and Peter are firing on all cylinders here. It's a really good debut. It just shows how good I think everything is after. And some people are going, why aren't you putting a certain 90s album down below this one? Like, come on. But maybe I kind of like that one. I don't know. But I like this. This is a solid... This is already in like 4 stars territory out of 5. I really like this record. I enjoy listening to it. I just don't really listen to it as much as the other ones. But yeah, it sure beats Mr. Wonderful. And yeah, it's still a good one. Okay, next up is going to be... And I've been talking about this one quite a bit lately, but it's the live record. I do enjoy this record, and I like the new songs on it, like One More Night. And their version of Farmer's Daughter is nice, Fireflies. I just don't like that it's taken from so many different venues and dates, and that happens a lot on live records. There's always a lot of cheating and editing and fixing bunk notes and bringing things up, and you know, there's very few raw live records. I would love more that they don't tamper with so much. But that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem with this live record is that they include rehearsals. Like Dreams, which should be one of the strongest songs on here, is one of the weakest, if actually it is the weakest, in my opinion, because it just sounds so flat and lifeless, and you can tell it's the band warming up. It's a rehearsal for their friends. It's not them playing to the audience, so you don't get any of the energy. The way they do the instrumental on the track and the verses is fine enough, but the chorus just sounds so flat. And it's too bad, because Dreams is such a nice classic song, and it should have been one of the highlights off here. But yeah, anything they did in rehearsal just falls way flat. But then you have the huge electrifying, you know, Not That Funny, and, you know, there's lots of good ones on here. The live version of Over and Over is nice, Rhiannon, of course, you know, Go Your Own Way, I'm So Afraid is already becoming this big beast. I mean, it was by 76. You know, it's already eclipsing the solo version, or the LP version, rather. So, yeah. But, you know that I do love this record. It's just, you know, warts and all, I guess you could say. Next up is Behind the Mask, of course, from 1990. Some people like this one, some people hate it. This is, of course, the first record since the Rumors era of the group, the first record without Lindsay, and they replaced him on the Tango in the Night tour with Billy Burnett and Rick Vito, two very talented men that obviously have a very different style than Lindsay, and of course that's not going to sit well with everyone. This is a good record, and it really needs a remaster. It needs the love and care that the White Album, which that's what we call it at least, the 75 record, Rumors, and all those albums got, Tusk. It needs a nice remaster. So, yeah, and would it rank a little higher if it got a remaster? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, it did really well in the UK. This record sold really well. It didn't do that. I think it's only sitting at gold maybe in the States, or maybe platinum now, but it was looked at as a big disappointment after Tango and really after everything Rumors era. Um, anyway, Christine McVie's, her compositions are highlights. Sky's the Limit is really nice, really catchy. Behind the Mask, the title track is one of her best songs. I really like that one a lot. And Lindsay, of course, plays on that one guitar. I think he plays the acoustic guitar that comes in there. So even though he severed ties with the band, he kind of came back anyway for one little feature. And then In the Back of My Mind, that's a great one, and that's just the whole band, you know. And this is a very weird cover because, you know, that, you know, at first glance, that looks like Stevie. Oh, it's Stevie. No, it's definitely not. For some reason, the band requested not to be on the cover, which isn't a good sign, usually. But they requested not to be, so they got this look-alike band. But other than the Stevie one, and maybe that's supposed to be Mick, no one here looks like they're in Fleetwood Mac. But everything you read, like when you read novels about Fleetwood Mac and this part of the history, they always say, oh, the band didn't want their photos on the cover, so the photographer went out and took pictures of a look-alike band. That doesn't look like Fleetwood Mac at all. What are they talking about? But even still, like, why would you go and... I don't get the cover. It's so random. But I don't exactly hate it. There's something oddly intriguing about it. Maybe it shouldn't be framed this way. I'm not sure. And the color isn't very exciting. But anyway, I'm not an art critic. But the music on here is really good. And In the Back of My Mind, okay, that's, you know, a definite highlight. I think that should be on most of the compilation records. It's on a couple of them. But they tend not to focus on this era. They tend to move away from it a little bit. Okay, next up is Time. And of course, there's never commercially been available an LP of this. And there probably won't during my lifetime, but I like to dream. I like to think there will be. I have the CD over in the collection. So Time, I've talked about Time at great length, but I actually like all these tracks. And this is, Rick Vito was out by then. Dave Mason was in. So you had, and Becca Bramlett. So you had Becca, Dave... You had Christine, but only in the studio. She didn't go on tour with them because she hated Dave Mason and she was semi-retired, sort of. And yeah, and Billy Burnett, if I didn't mention him. But, you know, a lot of people hate this one. This one gets the most hate. This one didn't even chart when it came out. And when I say it didn't chart, it wasn't just not top 50. It didn't even hit 200. It was so slept on. And then the band came back 2 years later like nothing happened. And they were selling out all the arenas. And, you know, Lindsay was back, Stevie was back, and selling all the records again. Sooner or Later is an amazing song. Alright, and I Wonder Why. Dave, extremely underrated. Love that one. Dave Mason, of course, from Traffic. These Strange Times has kind of got this back in the news a little bit because... Mick Fleetwood re-recorded it with Mick Fleetwood's Dadaism, and you can find that on Spotify and all that. And yeah, you have Nothing Without You. That one actually has a guest spot from Lindsay. And Talking to My Heart. It's produced just like those Rumors records. They have Richard on production, and it sounds classic to me. I really like it. Next up is going to be, and this is when I'm glad I don't have my P.O. box in the description, because this is where all the hate mail starts to come in. Only One Above Time, the 75 album. Don't you like this at all? Yeah, I really like this a lot. And if I wanted more hate mail, I could have put Time in front of this. This is a really great record, and of course Rhiannon is one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. But most of these songs, and maybe even Rhiannon included, I think they pop way more live. Landslide is, of course, beautiful, like a tearjerker. You know, Say You Love Me, a great catchy single. World Turning. World Turning's great, but like I like when they do it live more. It just has so much more fire to it. I'm So Afraid. I mean, that has such a unique classic guitar tone on it. But other than that, I'll take all the live versions over it any day. Those extended versions with all the build up and the extended solo, and Lindsay's singing is a lot more intense and spooky on the live versions, in my opinion. Um, yeah, I think the only merit the studio one has is that the guitar tone is really good and really classic and unique. But yeah, I'm just a bigger fan of most of these songs live, even Monday Morning. But you know, this record's no slouch. It's a classic, of course. And sorry for my cat whining in the background. Whenever I let him in, though, he always either puts the camera off or steps on the keyboard and the whole video goes down or some weird sound goes off. I feel so bad not letting him in. He knows I'm talking about Fleetwood Mac. And he wants to get in and say a few things. So, this one was really hard. Like, do I put this ahead of the White Album? Do I not? And I actually really like Kiln House. It's a really weird transitional era for the group. And I don't think it did much at the time. You know, Station Man lived on as a great live staple. But other than that, like, there's not much that people would say is really noteworthy. But, you know, Danny Kerwin, of course, coming in. He came in with, the last Peter Green incarnation. But then when Peter was gone, you know, Danny had to reluctantly become sort of a frontman of the group with Jeremy Spencer. So you have Jeremy Spencer doing his kind of his impressions. Like, there's kind of this Elvis-y, Roy Orbison sounding one, and then there's one that's kind of 50s rock and roll, sort of Chuck Berry. But then you have Danny doing, you know, just amazing kind of blues, poppy rock stuff, and the scorching Tell Me All Your Things You Do, which the Mike Campbell, Neil Finn one dusted off and did a really cool rendition live. Yeah, I would say Station Man is the standout, but Jewel Eye Judy is a lot of fun and really catchy and surprisingly very rocky. And there's nice instrumental on here. Mission Bell is quite pretty, and of course you have the great Christine McVie cover art, and kind of a weird inside. Peekaboo. And then yeah, of course that goes all the way like that. Gatefold. And Penguin's gonna be next at number 12. Oh, Penguin. And a lot of people think, what ugly album art, or this is the worst era of the 70s band. And, you know, I can dig it, I guess. And then people go, well, why did you put White Album below? Well, I think I do actually prefer listening to this one front to back. And it's definitely the weakest of the Bob Welch stuff, in my opinion. His songs on here are great, like Bright Fire, but they're not as good, in my opinion, as Future Games or Mystery to Me. I think that his writing by then is so inspired by Mystery to Me. And Future Games, he just brought it all on his first, get-go with them. From the get-go, rather. Of course, you had Did You Ever Love Me? Him and Christine together. And you had, what's his name? Dave Stewart, right? Bob Weston, of course, is Dave Walker. I had a brain fart there. So, yeah, Dave Walker of Savoy Brown. And he just did a live stream last year, and you can find it on YouTube, and he talks about his history with Savoy Brown, and he touches a little bit on Fleetwood Mac and does a bunch of songs, and it's very chill. It's just from his like living room or something. His he was hired as kind of being a front man for the group, but that didn't really play out. He only had 2 songs on this LP, The Derelict and I'm a Roadrunner. And I remember when I bought this originally when I was a teenager, I hated those. Hated. Like, those are the worst Fleetwood Mac songs. And now I was walking the other day and I was just listening to my old Fleetwood Mac playlist on random, and you never know what comes up, and one of those came up, and I thought, this is really good. Like, you have a nice instrumental there, and Peter Green appears for the first time on a Mac record since Then Play On. He would appear again on Tusk, which is, you know, a little later, 6 years later, but just light years later when it comes to, you know, the band and lineups and that. Number 11, just missing the top 10. It's an incredible record, I gotta say, but Say You Will. Of course, Christine was out for well, not for good, but she was out again by then. And, yeah, this has, you know, Lindsay and Stevie bringing in, you know, some outsider people to help them write, and it's you know, it's Buckingham Nicks again by this point, but with, you know, an added Mick and John rhythm section. So it's kind of like everything coming full circle, but they have, you know, the punch of the rhythm section to support them again. And yeah, this was really exciting when this came out, you know. They hadn't put out a record in 8 years, Fleetwood Mac, but they hadn't put out one with Stevie for 13 years, and one with Lindsay for 15 or 16 years. I'm trying to do all the math there. Yeah, some of the songs by the end, I mean, there's nothing bad on here at all, but some of the songs like Everybody Finds Out and Steal Your Heart Away, I don't think are quite as good, and Bleed to Lover is great, but it's not as great as the dance version, in my opinion. So I was a little let down, but it's still a really cool song either way. But yeah, most of the highlights for me personally are the first, you know, half of the record. Morrow turning around in his grave shows that Lindsay is still completely, you know, psycho on the guitar, and he's just so innovative and so passionate, and same with Come. That's kind of just a cheeky spitting daggers at your ex type song, and apparently I think Stevie refused to ever be on stage while that song was performed, and that's saying a lot considering how many songs they've wrote about each other, and how sort of venomous, I guess you could say, or how, you know, tense it gets between them on stage, you know, singing these songs about each other for decades that are like, you did this to me, you. And then, yeah, Stevie's entries are no slouch, you know. Her vocal delivery is so weathered by this point, but the writing is still good, and, you know, Say You Will is a very catchy single. Illume, 9/11 is great. Thrown Down, those are all great songs. Yeah, and then Peacekeeper it sort of sounds like Kodachrome by Paul Simon, but it's a very catchy song with a really good chorus. And a lot of people don't like the opener, What's the World Coming To, but that song's really catchy. It's a really good opener, in my opinion. So into the top 10 now, we have Heroes Are Hard to Find, and this is the reason why a lot of people think Fleetwood Mac are the worst for sleeve art. I generally like their sleeve art, but yeah, this is a weird one. This one, I'd say it hasn't aged well, but I mean, is that really what was the trend in 74? But the music, oh my god, the music is great on this one. So this is, of course, Bob Welch's last hurrah with Fleetwood Mac, and he really saved the band, and a lot of people don't give him the credit he deserves, obviously. I think he was slighted when they got into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and always great members of legacy bands get slighted, unfortunately, with that thing. It's kind of BS, really. but he really carried them through a tough period, and they couldn't make those Rumors era albums without him, or survived as a band really. Um, so the title track is a nice, poppy, jaunty one. Has amazing horns in it. Um, you know, One of the many, many, many pre Buckingham Nicks should have been a hit songs, really. I love, and this has aged really well, how Bob Welch is credited as guitars, vocals, vibes. He's just there vibing. And I know that he quit this era because he just got burnt out. And, he didn't get enough credit even when he was with the band and then after he left. And I could see why he was burned out, but other than that fact, he always just seemed like such a chill guy with chill vibes. He's just there vibing. And his mystical sort of lyrics and the way he sings about aliens and, conspiracies and stuff like that. I love that stuff. He always kind of had his head in the clouds watching the UFOs and that. But I just love how it says guitars, vocals, vibes. Coming Home is surprisingly spacey and kind of introspective and not immediate at all. It's kind of, a lot of his songs here are kind of like an antithesis of what Christine was doing. Angel, not to be confused with the Stevie Nicks composition 5 years later with the same name, is, funky and fresh and poppy. Silver Heels is catchy as all heck. Love that one. Born Enchanter is just funky. I think that, and a lot of people don't pick that one, I think that's the highlight of the record for me, but like a lot of these ones, there's not a slouch on this record. And this is when people get really upset at me. I love this record, but it's going to be number 9. And I really didn't think twice about that. Of course, you have so many 5 out of 5 songs on here, like Dreams and The Chain and You Make Lovin' Fun and probably Gold Dust Woman and Go Your Own Way. Even though Go Your Own Way is overplayed, if you just don't listen to it for a while and then sit down with headphones and listen to it instead of in a movie soundtrack or in the grocery store, it's still a classic song that, ranks up there with the best. And I don't know if its overplayedness makes this rank a little lower. I'm not sure, but, just please know that this is just my opinion, and I love this record. That's just me trying to do my damage control thing, but, yeah, and even that whole TikTok thing with Dreams somehow still didn't make that song played out. There's just a magic to that song, and the production on that song, the way Lindsay plays, or, yeah, the little, flourishes that Lindsay adds in, amazing, just amazing little touches, and Mick's playing, is always so unique, and I always notice it on Dreams in particular, because Dreams is such a pop song and a pop hit, but you still have that very unique Mick way of playing, and I always really appreciated that. And then the production is just great. I think the thing with this record, and I said this for the 75 record, but most of this, other than Never Going Back Again and maybe Dreams, I like the live versions a lot better. I think they're a lot more explosive, and, Gold Dust Woman live is just like, woo, like it's not heavy like heavy metal, but it's heavy in that it's like, it blows you away heavy. So, there's that, I guess. Anyway, I have to defend my choice before everyone gets really mad at me. But I love Rumors. I would say it's still one of the best records of 77. And, it's one of the best-selling records of all time for a reason. It's so universal, and everyone can deal. These are not love songs. These are breakup songs. And, everyone's had some heartache and some heartbreak. So we can all relate to what these people who are all going through heavy heartbreaks, what they're trying to say at the time. And, the fact that this was made at all is probably a miracle. The fact that they somehow made a record better than the 1975 White Album, while being in the situation with one another and, hating one another, and the McVies breaking up their marriage and all that. The fact that it was made at all is a mystery to me. No, it's just amazing that it was made at all. Next up is going to be Then Play On. So definitely far and away the best Peter Green era, era/LP. I think that Peter's greatest stuff with the band is captured in those live performances that a lot of them have been archived and you can buy physically or you can listen to on YouTube or Spotify. But this one is something special. This is another classic. This is when Danny, of course, joined, and he was only 18 or 19. He was incredibly talented. It's just so too bad what happened to him. And there he is. He just looks like a little kid. And Jeremy is pictured here, but he doesn't play on this record at all. And apparently there was supposed to be an EP packaged with the record that had all his kind of impression kind of songs that he did and does. Well, he did back then. He's found a new style now. But it was supposed to be packaged with that, and I guess they promised him they were going to go that way. And then it got the axe at the final moment. I think maybe the record label decided it was a little too risky/pricey to do that, so they just put out the core album. And man, this is a consistent one. There's lots of different track listings of this, and a lot of the reissues kind of implement the old track listing a little better. But on this copy, it starts Coming Your Way, Closing My Eyes, and Showbiz Blues. Like, what a way to start the record. Coming Your Way, of course, is a Danny one, and that's one of his best here. I think that some of the songs he was doing at the time in studio aren't very good, but man, as a live unit, they were just on fire. And, I picked out the one that has Rattlesnake Shake in the track listing. They all do, I think. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I always get confused about the track listing for this one, because there's some that Fighting for Madge is separated from Searching for Madge, and those are two electrifying instrumentals that I absolutely love. And then there's ones that put Oh Well in there, and this one's one of them, and then there's ones that don't. It's very confusing, but it kind of doesn't matter what version, whatever version you're listening to, you could confidently put it at my number 8, because this is just an electrifying version of the band, and this is them shifting from blues into more rock, and it's not a psychedelic record, but there's kind of little traces of that coming into play, but it's just definitely more rocky and Bullwinkle. No, it's definitely more rocky. It's definitely going away from just being a blues band, and they were a year prior, they were already going a little bit out there more live, so it's good that they were trying to capture that on record, because the live stuff from this era is amazing. So next up is going to be Bare Trees, and this of course has this is the last one they did with Danny, and I think he rules this record. Bob Welch's songs are good on here, and Christine McVie's are good, but Danny rules the record. He contributes Child of Mine, which surprisingly I hear all over the place now, like in stores and waiting for concerts back when that was a thing. That's a great song. I love the title track, Bare Trees. It's just beautiful and catchy, and like Then Play On, there's a lot of kind of blues meeting kind of rock, 70s rock music in that. Danny's chant, which is sort of an instrumental, but it's got the wah-wah guitar stuff, and it's just Danny chanting wordless vocals. It's surprisingly effective. I really like the stomp of that one. And yeah, it's a really nice one. His instrumental "Sunny Side of Heaven" is just as good as the instrumentals on "Then Play On." Somehow, it sounds like you're going to heaven. Like, it's great. And a lot of people bring up "Dust," and that's kind of the, if you erase "Thoughts on a Gray Day," because that doesn't matter, it's just some old woman talking. It's supposed to be poetry, but it's kind of annoying. Dust is kind of the capper of Danny Kerwin's active career with the band. And he'd put out some solo records after this, and none of them would do anything. And then he became extremely unwell, and his solo career was done after 3 unsuccessful LPs. So Dust is kind of the capper, and it's beautiful and sad. He had a very simple way of writing. He was an amazing player, but he always had writer's block, and his songs lyrically are way more simple than the other writers for the group, like Bob, who always had kind of a clear vision for his songs, and Lindsay the innovator, Stevie the kind of mystic, and all the witch images, and then Christine with her pop stuff. They all had a very specific vision with their writing, and Danny's stuff is more simple, but it's really effective on this record. I really like it. The only song he wrote that I never liked, and a lot of people do like, is "When You Say," but that's off a lot of iterations of "Then Play On," but wasn't on the one that I brought out, so I couldn't talk about it. But there you go. But yeah, simple but effective writing. Really good on this one. This is a nice treasure of a record. And it was very rare that him and Bob played kind of together and collaborated, but they do this kind of dueling guitar thing on the end of Homeward Bound, and that one is really a nice treat for the ears. So next up is going to be Mirage, and this is a very polished record, and barely anyone likes this more than Rumors. But I really like it, and it is the band kind of playing it safe after Tusk, a little bit, but man, even though it's like one of the poppiest ones, it's got Hooks for Days, it's got Hold Me, everyone knows and loves that one. Gypsy, I only wish it was the extended version, because I love Gypsy and always want it to last really long. The extended version is where it's at, but this version is great, of course. Love in Store is, the catchy opener. Lindsay's stuff is definitely safer than Tusk, and he does get criticized for that sometime, but Book of Love, wow, that's such a great song. And Can't Go Back is really fun and unique. Empire State, even though the subject matter isn't that interesting, it's a really catchy record, song rather. I think maybe the low point, and I still like the song, is "Oh Diane," which was a single and really successful in some parts of the world. Kind of a 50s throwback. And yeah, my cat Fleetwood is contributing his opinion again. Okay, next up is number... I'm so confused. No, I got these out of order, that's why. So we just did Mirage. So we are going to do... I almost shuffled this one last minute, but I didn't. Tango in the Night. It just seems low. I love Tango in the Night. I love every track off this one. I know some people don't like a couple of Stevies off here. I think When I See You Again, some people think that one's kind of annoying. I think it's just a heart-wrencher. It's her vocals. Some people say they're too kind of baby-like, but like just how vulnerable she sounds in that. Amazing. Welcome to the Room, Sarah. I don't know if that's supposed to be a sequel to Sarah, the song. That one really works well for me. Seven Wonders. Wow, what a single. And Christine is at the top of her game here. Her songs are so slick and so catchy. Little Lies, of course, was a huge hit. Everywhere was a huge hit, and for good reason. And Isn't It Midnight? That should have been a huge hit, actually. And then, of course, Lindsay, No Slouch here. Big Love, the original version. Oh my God, that's a great one. Tango in the Night with the solo that kind of implements and rivals the I Am So Afraid live juggernaut. And then, a lot of people hate it, but Family Man, catchy, catchy. I don't care that the lyrics are kind of dumb. The crazy guitar, like flamenco and sort of electronic stuff going on, and even the deep register voice, Family Man. Like, oh, I'll take it. I like it. I know a lot of people don't like that one, but it's good. Yeah, there's nothing I don't like on here. Incredible record, and as you can tell already, my second favorite studio one from the Rumors 5. Put that right there, and then how do I have this ranked now? Interesting. So next up is going to be Future Games, which was 1971, and the introduction of Bob Welch, one of my personal favorite Fleetwood Mac members. And of note is the back cover, where everyone's pictured except John McVie as a penguin. So yeah. And he loved his penguins, that's for sure. That's why they named a whole record Penguin, and a penguin became their mascot, and Danny DeVito as the penguin came and performed with them. No, not the last point, but all the rest are true. So this one, yeah, Bob Welch came right out the gate with the title track, Future Games, which is just 8 minutes of absolute bliss. It's probably one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs. It's, mystical and just wondrous, and yeah, nothing but good things to say about that. His vocals are smooth, and oh man, it's just so out there and like kind of forward thinking. I really like that one. And then Danny, I'm pretty sure these are my favorite Danny songs with the band. Woman of a Thousand Years and Sands of Time. Definitely more patient songs, just incredible compositions, beautiful. I know that Danny kind of had a temper. He was a shy man, so maybe, and I think the success and everything got to him, and anxiety and that. But this just shows the beauty of Danny and how thoughtful and kind of soft he was. I think that those 3 songs alone help this rank so high because they're absolute classics. But Lay It All Down is great, fun rocker, really catchy. The Christine McVie cuts, Morning Rain and Show Me a Smile, are nice. This is the third album she would play on, but the first where she was like an actual writer and singer in the group, because Mr. Wonderful she played keyboards on, and then of course Kiln House, you can hear her singing in the background, but she didn't sing lead. So this wasn't only the first with Bob as one of the lead singers and guitarists, but also the first with Christine. So as an actual member, and that joined Fleetwood Mac in summer 1970, and of course she came from Chicken Shack. And it says Bob Welch joined in spring 1971 from various California R&B groups. So he was the first American in the group, and one of those groups is Head West, which they have an LP, and I think it's being reissued on vinyl finally, so I can finally get a copy of it. I've heard it a couple times, and I love everything Bob did so much. They also mentioned that Mick was in a group, Shotgun Express, with Rod Stewart, and that was one of the last facts I ever learned about this band. It's like, wow, Mick and Rod Stewart in the same band. Okay, so my computer's fallen asleep because this video is taking too long. So I do apologize for that. Number 3, I've many times in history named this as my favorite Fleetwood Mac record. I think the only thing that keeps this from being my favorite is the Yardbirds cover, For Your Love, on it, which is a good enough rendition, but I don't think it bests the original. and it's certainly not as good as the other compositions off this record. Interestingly, there's a penguin on the back again, and this record has, instead of saying For Your Love, it got put in last minute, and they pulled the song that was supposed to be in its place, Good Things Come to Those Who Wait, which you can find on the CD box set that came out last fall. You can finally listen to that song now. And I think the album might have been better with that instead of For Your Love. It would have flowed better. This, of course, has Emerald Eyes, one of my favorite openers from the whole career of Fleetwood Mac. Forever, which is just, oh, that's just maxing and relaxing to a T. That's the vibes you want in your life, forever. You know, just being on a beach, watching the boat sail past. I wish this day would last and keep on going forever. You got Keep On Going, which Bob wrote and Christine sings. That's a really nice one. Somebody is kind of like Born Enchanter. It's really funky and cool and overlooked. I think more people should hear that one in their life. And then Hypnotized, the huge juggernaut, one of my favorite songs from this band. So chill, but so much thought in there. And then Why, one of the best Christine McVie songs, closes the record. It's got that really nice, I guess it's probably played by Bob Weston, not Bob Welch, but the nice kind of slide guitar at the front, very patient, and then it kind of builds up, and yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, everyone's firing on all cylinders, and it's too bad Bob Weston kind of messed up and got himself fired, because this was a really cool lineup of the group, and of course, for the album after, Heroes Are Hard to Find, they became a quartet for a very short time. Yeah. And then number 2, also one that I used to pick as my number 1, and that's Tusk, and of course, you'll see why I was kind of cheating in a moment, but maybe this would be the number 1. So, of course, you got, them coming off their Rumors successes, and, like, what do we do next? And, Christine throws in her, very poppy, songs about love and all that. And her songs are really great on this one, Over and Over especially, and Brown Eyes. A lot of them, interestingly though, a lot of them aren't as good as the 2 records it's sandwiched in between. And definitely not as good as Tango, but the exceptions are Brown Eyes and Over. Those are 2 of our best songs ever. And then, of course, you have another one of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs of all time, Sarah. If you can get the version with the extended cut, not the demo version, but the extended album version, that's just pure bliss. That song has teared me up before. It's a great one. It's just beautiful. That's Stevie again at the top of her game, and then you have Lindsay doing all these again kind of punky in attitude. They're not punk songs, but punky in attitude, new wave stuff that a lot of people were kind of going, huh? And interestingly, they put The Ledge second, and that's one of the weirdest ones. So that probably, a lot of people listen over and over, and they're like, yeah, this is what I would expect from a Rumors sequel. And then The Ledge comes on, and they're going, is my stereo broken, or what's going on here? But I love it. It's not avant-garde, but it's definitely kind of experimental. Still catchy, though. Save Me a Place is amazing. What Makes You Think You're the One is just biting, and has that drum sound that, if you put it on your LP, it sounds like it's going to break your speakers. It's so loud. I love it. That's All for Everyone, one of my favorite Lindsay songs. It just sounds like someone who's done, but like creatively, it's just a brilliant song. Kind of about throwing in the towel. Like, I'm sure he wanted to leave the group at this point. Not That Funny, of course. Just biting song, and of course Tusk, the title track. which kind of became a hit against all odds. It's really one of the weirdest songs that I think it went top 5, at least on the charts I was looking at. Definitely got a lot of airplay. And then number 1, I'm allowed to do this because it's my list, but number 1 is a live album. Whenever I want to listen to the Lindsey Buckingham Stevie era, I always run for some of the songs off this one. And the renditions on here are just incredible. This is my favorite version of The Chain. I love this version. The band sounds so rejuvenated, so reinvigorated. And this and the 1992 version of I Am So Afraid have both brought me to absolute tears. I'm not afraid to admit that. I absolutely love that song. I relate to it. It's kind of scarily relatable. It's kind of in your darkest moments of life. And music like that, helps you through life. And, music is one thing that's definitely worth living for. You can't ever forget that. Bleed to Lover, the passion on that one is incredible. That's the best version of that song. Rhiannon on here is amazing. Stevie still got it in 1997. She made it through the scary late 80s and early 90s, that almost killed her. It's so nice to see the band up on stage together here. The version of Go Your Own Way is a scorcher. You Make Lovin' Fun has so much punch. Tusk is absolutely incredible. This version kind of, in a way, ruins the studio version because it's so bombastic. And the studio version, I love the instrumental and the percussion, but it always sounds too quiet compared to everything else that's going on. And when they put it on a compilation, it all sounds too quiet compared to the rest. But this version is just pounding and incredible, and Lindsey's voice quivers, and oh my god, it gives you chills, man. Silver Springs is where it should be on a major record that sold a lot of copies. It should have been on Rumors. It should have been there. It's one of Stevie's best songs. It's heart-wrenching. It's everything this band is great at. Drama. I don't like drama on TV, but the drama they bring to the music just adds to the passion. There's so much passion in this band, and I just feel it was so on display here. And, a lot of people would say you can't really include the dance here. It's a live record, but too bad. I am. And yeah, whenever I think of the Lindsey Buckingham Stevie years, my mind always goes to here, I think, because I just love this record so much, and I love the DVD. I used to play it over and over again, and yeah, the new songs on here are nice. I love Sweet Girl. I love My Little Demon. It's so catchy. Temporary One. Christine was still bringing it in the 90s with songs like Behind the Mask, Sooner or Later, Heart of Stone, Sky's the Limit. Yeah, her stuff in the 80s, Love Shines, and then this one. And I'm even missing a few songs, but she really was still bringing it in the 90s. And that song is so catchy. And then you have the solo version of Big Love where Lindsey just performs it on stage, and the passion dripping from him and coming off of him on that one is stellar. This is a 5 out of 5 star album, as are the last few, in my opinion, but the only thing I could say about this record is, this is a new-ish LP that, this came out in 97. They finally put it out on LP a couple years ago, but they need to put out the deluxe edition of this. And they could put an LP with a Blu-ray or a DVD or whatever, but put the rest of the tracks in the track listing, because on the DVD there's about 5 songs that aren't on here, and that's the only thing that you could improve about this. The sound quality is immaculate. The performance is an 11 out of 10. But yeah, just get the other 5. There's a lot of fans that agree with me that would buy it another time. Because I have the CD, I have the DVD, and have this. But I would totally shell out good money for, for a reissue, per se. A deluxe edition. So thank you so much. That's me rambling. Holy moly. We're an hour in. But yeah, there's so much passion with this band. Yeah, I hope that you give me your favorites. Definitely feel free to rank the records in the comments. and talked Fleetwood Mac with me. And if you made it this far, then I'm so grateful. Bless you. And yeah, also, just, don't get mad. Know that everyone has their opinion. And I know that people like different lineups from this group. It's okay. And yeah, thanks so much. Take care of yourself, everyone. And more videos very soon. Thank you. Adios.